Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again for another episode of Leaders Labs number 3 this time. My name is Mark. I head up this events team at the Customer Success Network, and I'm so excited to welcome Emilia, CEO of boutique consulting firm Growth Molecules, and her guests once again with us. I'm going to leave you in their company in just one quick minute. A couple of housekeeping items for me. Number one, do join us in the discussion through Slido, either by accessing the link on your screen. I'm going to post it in the chat in a second, or by using the code to access Slido if you have the mobile app. We are going to have time for questions at the end, and we really do want to answer those that matter to you the most. And secondly, do stay with us until the end. It's only 30 minutes of discussion today, but we are going to talk about our next episode, and it's going to be a very exciting one. We'll share more information about it towards the end of the discussion. That's it for me. Emilia, over to you. Thank you for another episode.
Thank you, Marika, and thanks everyone who's joining us today from all over the world. I am in Sonoma, California, and we have Vincent here from London. He is the director of SAP EMEA North, the customer experience. And then we have Chad Horenfeldt from Kustomer, and he is the director. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
And I should say, Chad is in New York, so we really are spread out all over the place. And I'm really excited to discuss this topic because it's just so relevant. And I have so many people reaching out to me often asking, what are the best practices when it comes to scaling a TechTouch strategy? So without further ado, I'd love to have Chad just introduce yourself a little bit more and tell us one thing you've learned or have taken up as a hobby during COVID.
Sure. Thank you so much, Emilia, and it's really great to be here. So my name's Chad Horenfeldt. I'm the Director of Customer Success at a software company called Kustomer with a K. So Kustomer is a it's a support CRM software, and we focus on with many different clients in terms of e-commerce space, financial space. And essentially, we're a support software, but we look at things differently. We look at things and our customers more as people, not as tickets. And in terms of my role as Director of Customer Success, we actually have 3 different parts of our customer experience department. So we have professional services, we have support, and then we have customer success. So I manage the customer success, and the 3 directors roll up to a CRO. And my team is about 13 people today. It's growing very rapidly. It should get well past 20 by the end of the year. And in terms of the main parts of our team, just so people are aware, and kind of how we go to market and our different customers. So we've got customers that are massive customers, and we have got customers that are very tiny. So we really run the gamut. And my team consists of customer success managers, as well as I do have technical account managers as well. And we work together to provide a great experience for our customers, but also to make sure that we're understanding their outcomes. And in terms of past experience, I've been in customer success space for a very long time, and was a customer success manager, and then moved into management and have worked with many different startups. And my thing that I've learned, I'd say, or focused on is around investing. So I wasn't necessarily a big investor prior to the whole pandemic, and just been reading and strategizing, experimenting, and have been successful so far. So it's a fun thing, a little stressful, but it's good.
I agree. Well, that's a great thing to learn about and take up during COVID. And for anyone who's thinking of doing that, I just think of this book this woman wrote that I read this year called Invested, and it's all about her journey into the stock market world. So highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So great. Thank you, Chad. What about you, Vincent? Can you tell us a little bit more about you and what hobby you took up?
Sure. So I'm French. I'm based in London, and I've done several years in customer success. So a bit similar to Chad, as a CSM at first, as a team lead, and currently as a director. I work at SAP Customer Experience. So this is a SaaS line of business, mainly for front office applications. So think about marketing cloud, commerce cloud, sales cloud, service cloud. And in terms of size, this is a fairly sizable business. This is roughly 1 billion euros ARR. And in there, I am the director for a team in the medium touch segment. So those are accounts that are quite large, 250K ARR as an average. And it's a fairly new segment. We've been doing that for about a year. And this is a segment that sits between strategic and between digital. So we try and do strategic at scale, so strategic with a lighter touch, and also infuse as much tech touch as possible to further scale. I also did invest quite a bit. I tried, Chad, same as you, but I got a new skill, which is cutting hair. So cutting hair for my son, who is 5 years old. I tried my best not to do such a bad job, but yeah. We had so many lockdowns in the UK that I had to pick this one up.
Got it. And I have a lot of friends that are angry with their husbands because they cut their children's hair and it was disastrous. So I feel for all these children. Well, great. Well, let's dive in and really talk about what I think we're all here for today. And Chad, let's start with you. When you don't have an army, like you mentioned, you have 13 people on the team. How do you build more of a self-service strategy when you can't give that high touch to your clients?
Yeah, I think that the best strategy typically is always product. You know, if you have a really easy to use product and you've built features and wizards and things like that, that will allow you to do more self-service. However, if your product is not necessarily geared for that, or it's not right there in terms of having all those, you know, ready and levers that you can get set up quickly, and it's just much more complex. There's other things that you need to be looking at doing and thinking of the whole process. This is an evolution, and I think that one of the things that I've looked at when I came in and sort of assessed where we're at and what we need, I quickly realized like there's a lot of work to do, and I've been a customer now for a little over a year. And some of the things that we need to do is we need to improve our onboarding and streamline certain parts of it within the product. And that is something that we need to do, but that's going to take a long time. So one of the things that you can start to do is look for partnerships across your company. This doesn't necessarily have to be within customer success. And so one of the things that we went out and talked to our customers. So that's definitely something that I recommend. What do your customers want? What are they looking for? And so one of the things that they were telling us was that they wanted a way to talk to each other. And the kind of serendipitous moment was when COVID hit, and I was like, okay, well, we really need a community of some sort, and I need some resources from marketing to help me with this, to get it off the ground. And not getting a lot of resources, we started a Slack community, and we started this at like a zero technology cost. But obviously you need to have people involved to engage your customers, and sort of wrote up a proposal and started there. And I thought that was a really good starting point. I then partnered with our support team, and as they built up their team, they started to put some more proactive measures in place. So they started to do monthly webinars, which are training webinars for our customers. They looked at what are the hot items that customers are submitting on a regular basis, and they've taken a mentality of trying to be more proactive in their support. And so we didn't necessarily have that training mechanism and training program in place yet. And now we've actually built out what we call Customer University, which is built on a platform, and it's very structured, and we built a team and hired the team. But these are some of the things that you can start to do and put in place now, and then think about, okay, well, how can we help our customers along this journey to self-service with a community, with these types of webinars, and then build out other things later on. I think the last thing that we did was I started what we call a customer health check program. So think about a 10-point inspection that you take your car in, and I wanted to start something where, we have some of these smaller customers that are using our product in a certain way. They came out of implementation, And as we know, what the customer originally purchased the product for and what they're using it now is typically different because they've learned so much. And so what we wanted to do is go back, reassess how they're using the platform, have a discussion with what their objectives are and their outcomes. And then I had this technical account component to my team, and they'd schedule a meeting with the client if they're interested, and then we would have that discussion. And so that's definitely helped drive up our retention rates, because instead of waiting for the customer to come to you, for those smaller customers, you've proactively reached out to them. And some of those conversations went sideways. They didn't necessarily focus on the health check, but that's fine. It's like you're trying to help the customer where they're at, figure out what their problems are and what they're trying to achieve, and then coming in with someone who really knows the CX space and can help that customer. So that's some of the things that we've started to do. And, I can talk a little bit more later on in terms of where that's evolving to.
Chad, I love that you brought this up about bringing up the health score and being able to be candid with your customers and uncover early on, as opposed to when they're maybe potentially giving you a notice that they want to leave your organization. Isn't it better that you have that health check early? So I love that idea. But before we turn to Vincent, I have two quick things that I'm sure the audience is wondering about. What community did you end up selecting? And then what did you use for your customer university?
Sure. So we chose a Slack community, and Slack is not, it's good because it's easy. Many people are using it already and they're familiar with it. I think where it falls down a bit is that it doesn't send out like a daily digest of information. And so you really need to be more proactive in your engagement to get people to come back in. So we use that, and we're using WorkRamp for our customer university. And I'm not too involved in that, but it's been a massive hit with our clients so far. So we're really impressed. I think, and all of these things, you need to be measuring how you're performing, how many customers you're engaging. And even what we've been doing with some of these early things, these early initiatives that we've put in place, we measured, we did a VOC survey, which has an NPS component, and we've measured that and how that's improved. And we've seen significant improvement. We've seen an overall 11-point improvement in NPS. And then we've seen actually a larger improvement in our smaller like SMB clients. And we're also measuring retention rates. And we've seen a really big jump in our retention rates for this quarter over previous quarters. So we know that we're on the right track in terms of some of the things that we're doing.
Wow, that's amazing, especially during COVID, to have that significant impact. NPS is so hard to move even one notch. So to say that you did 11, that's really impressive. Now, Vincent, $1 billion organization, and surely you don't have an army. So tell us what you did with your TechTouch strategy.
No, similar to I think most companies, resources are always difficult. Probably we come from a different angle, but yeah, similar to you, we didn't have an army, so had to be really creative and thought really of the strategy of how we could cover this medium touch segment, which is not sitting in strategic, which is too complex to be sat fully in digital. So created a medium touch segment, which is really this in between. And at first, we really didn't have an army. So I leveraged a fellowship program, which is a program within SAP that allows you to get people from different teams to come and try out a role. So people from pre-sales, from business development, from consulting, that come and try out a new role in customer success for about a year. So that was really good, because this gives the opportunity to really build a talent pipeline, and customer success is very much needed skill at the moment, and also gave the opportunity to really give access to other resources, to client-facing role, to early talents as well. So this was really the ground to create that new initiative a bit more than a year ago, and this worked really, really well. We got great results in renewals, in expansion, And so much so that then we got investment for the team. So we were able to retain some of the people that came to do a fellowship in the team. So that was a really good outcome. And this is something that we are really actively working on within our line of business, but also with the other lines of business at SAP. So potentially really much at scale. And there, we engage with customers in two models. So we have this medium segment, and we have customers where we engage proactively, and those are the ones for which we try and do something which is fairly similar to strategic, but in a lighter touch. And those are the ones that might have a renewal in the year, might have an opportunity for expansion, might have an escalation. And we've got the others, which are more in a reactive manner. And for that, we try and leverage TechTouch as much as possible. I think on TechTouch, we are at the start. This is definitely a journey, and there are lots more stuff that we want to do. I'll explain later on in the interview where we are at and what we do.
So let's dive into it. How do you use analytics data to identify the potential customers that are in that reactive state versus the ones you proactively want to go after because you identify an expansion opportunity?
So for data, we're using ARR. This is definitely one where we try and classify accounts that should sit strategic, that should sit more in digital. But within that, we look at the data where we've got tons of reports and consumption and various things. So we look at accounts that may have a renewal, that may have consumption issues, that may have expansion opportunities. And we have a tool to Tango where we surface some of the information. We're also using our own consumption reports. We are using also Qualtrics, which is an acquired company for SAP, and we're using that for NPS, so a bit similar to what Chad was mentioning. And there we are looking really at customer that didn't give us such a good mark, really to think about follow-up activities. So various things that we are doing, and also because our portfolio is quite vast, we're also looking at what customers are using. So looking at what white space analysis looks like for them. What could they use? Could they use other modules from what they already have? Could they use other solutions that are also in the portfolio? So we are doing lots of stuff on data, definitely.
And what about you, Chad?
Yeah, in terms of just understanding which customers to focus on and using data.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So going back to what I was saying, in this whole evolution, the things that you want, like those great tools, you want a CS platform so you can have all that visibility and health scoring and all those great things. But again, like this is an evolution, and if you have a company that will say, okay, great, we'll shell out money for that and we'll buy that, great. But in many cases, you have to prove that point. You have to make that case. And these are things that I've done, here at Kustomer, where, started off and got information from our customers, did the voice of customer survey. So we use, Qualtrics as well. And the reason why I use that is because I saw marketing had it, and I was like, okay, great. Like I need a survey tool, and Qualtrics is awesome. So let's use that. And it was really apparent based on that and other metrics. And the other thing I did is I, wanted to see more adoption data, and we didn't have like a system that was capturing that. We didn't necessarily even have a BI tool. So I looked at people in the organization who were a lot smarter than me, and we had purchased a company in AI, and I had some of those people help me. And I thought about, these are some of the metrics that we see our top performing customers do, and this is what makes a great customer. So let's start to pull some of those data points together and see what are the companies that are not doing those certain things, and sort of to categorize those metrics. And so we basically pulled all of this data and then brought it into spreadsheets, and through again, these very smart people that I was working with, they were able to sort of pull this together and help me. And that was our first health score. We actually created a health score that was automated. It would show up in spreadsheets. And of course, the spreadsheets would break, and then we need, that's where we're kind of looking at a CS platform. But that was really helpful. And that told me, is like, okay, these customers are not performing well and they're in our lower state. Let's work on getting health checks for these customers. Let's prioritize engagement. And it wasn't just adoption data, it was also engaging with Kustomer, which is obviously our support platform. And if we're not seeing people reach out, that was just an indicator that, maybe there's something that's going on there. And, use all the tools that you have. Like we have outreach. So I was looking at, and the data goes into our CRM. So you want to look at when was the last time you engaged with those customers? So pull data from, your marketing automation. So we use Marketo and trying to understand all of that and pull that picture. It's not easy if you don't have that type of a platform, but like a CS platform, but use what you have. When we did these webinars for customers, it's Zoom, it's just like this, right? So I think that's something for people here. It's like, start where you can, and, focus there, and then look at other sophistication you can put on top of that. The next thing that we're working on is a pooled CSM model for our lowest segment. And again, like to do that, that changes the structure, the way we do things. And you can't just roll that out. You have to sort of think through how are you going to hire? How are you going to split this up? What are the roles and responsibilities? So again, we're taking this in a very methodical approach and thinking forward about kind of where our growth is and where our customer base will be in the future.
And what I'm hearing from both of you is that even if it is a TechTouch, there is some sort of hybrid model that you're both describing, especially
Yes.
when you mention words like pooled. I just think, is there truly a TechTouch model? Even like you mentioned with Slack, it's great, but I wish it did additional things, so you have to augment it. So I can appreciate that. Now, I know we don't have a lot of time. These are power 30-minute sessions. So I would love for both of you to give some nuggets or what I wish I knew before I started creating these scalable programs. What would you tell the audience here that they should be thinking about? Vincent, give us one.
I think really the proactive reactive approach, I think, is one to crack for the scale. I think this is something that's really helped us because definitely you need to focus somewhere. And I think Chad mentioned it, like we have CS sentiment, we've got scores, we've got NPS, we've got various things to tell us where potentially we should focus. We've got also accounts that are at renewal in the year, which we should focus anyway. So I think this proactive reactive approach is really one which is important for us. Another one that we've tried to develop very actively recently is more around the user groups. So we used to have very large user groups, and at the moment we are multiplying user groups. So doing very, very small ones, 6, 8, 10 customers, and those are sessions in which they exchange together, they get value from that, and we augment it sometimes with experts as well that can come and also talk. But I think that's a great way for us to also do one-to-many approach, but an approach that has a lot of value, because sometimes it's difficult to measure what values a customer gets from sending emails or campaigns. So I think this is a very tangible one in which we sit. Again, technology, Zoom, so very easy to organize. And obviously with the pandemic, well, this is purely at no cost because there is no physical event. So one that we are really multiplying at the moment in the 20, 30 per year that we are doing at the moment for some market units.
And Chad, for you, since we have Slido up and there's so many questions coming in, thank you everyone. I wonder if you can share the nuggets around the segmentation. I think that's the top question. How did you even select these customers to be in this TechTouch strategy?
Yeah, I think part of it is like you have to because you don't have the resources. And part of it is, sales has a segmentation And I sort of pushed our organization that we need our own segmentation that's based on the appropriate experience that we want to provide those customers that will ensure that it gets them where they need to go from their outcomes. And so it's some experimentation. And a lot of it has to do with ARR, but it's also, again, like looking at what is it they're trying to do? What is that potential like upsell value that may be a small part of a larger company? And so that's just the approach that we've used. It's still emerging. And the bars are, when we go to a pooled model, my goal is actually to push the ARR bar up higher, because I think that that will provide an appropriate experience and also help us scale and be more cost effective. So these are things that, you know, as CS leaders, we need to be thinking about, where we only have a limited pool of money. How can we best use that to drive the best results?
And I have two very similar questions, highly ranked as well. How do you guide your TechTouch resources in places like communities or Slack? Do you have designated people?
So for me, like I'll jump in. It's like it's a lot of beg, borrowing, and stealing right now, and a lot of it is like I'd say this, like do like a minimum viable product, like, you know, the MVP approach. So I just launched the community. I just pushed it through. We saw results. Customers liked it. I was like, we need to invest more. And now we've got the whole organization participating in it, which is really cool. The next thing we pushed is, you know, to Vincent's point, where you're not getting together with your customers. We're doing a virtual product roadmap on a quarterly basis. Customers asked for that. We did a survey, and now we're doing it. They love it. And so those are just things you have to experiment. And once you experiment more, you have maybe some skeptical people, but then they see the results and they're like, oh yeah, like this is great. And I don't have to get on a call with like every customer and do this. So those are things that I would recommend, like results, data, that always helps you and makes your case.
And Vincent, finish this off with, how do you measure the value of the one-to-many community?
Well, I think for that, we've got several products. So what we're trying to do is have a community which is based on just one product. And even before the community, we send them a Qualtrics survey on what it is that they would like to see during that community. So already the content of what is being discussed is targeted to what they would like to learn. And then we also have the same kind of survey after the event to try and do follow-ups and maybe repeat one or one that goes further on those topics. So that's the way, mainly through Qualtrics platform. And we try and have communities that are not just communities where customers exchange. We also have communities, and I think that will answer probably one of the other questions, where we ask customers to come and discuss about potential features that would make sense for them. So think about it like a feature request kind of bulk that is being discussed and that we try to then prioritize and send to product. We also use an idea place in which customers can do that anyway from just a site, but those communities are also used to do that as well.
That's great. So engagement, measuring the engagement, and then taking it back to product. Well, I want to thank you both for all of these great insights that you've shared with the community. Thank you. Hopefully everyone's taken away some nuggets, and I'd love to just also thank the Customer Success Network for sponsoring these events. And Marika, do you want to share our guests for next month? Yeah, thank you. So we have invited Chris Dole, Chief Customer Officer of Audit Board. He was formerly at Cisco, and he's a client of mine, and I've had the pleasure to really get to know Chris. He's not only intelligent, but a lot of fun, and it's on Cinco de Mayo, which we celebrate here in the US. So don't be surprised if we make it a little bit more fun next time with some music to celebrate the event. So thank you, everyone. We hope to see you next month. And again, Chad, Vincent, Marika, thanks for making this possible.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.